while other members of the Trump administration have made media appearances seemingly on a near daily basis. Both Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have largely stayed out of the media spotlight. Now, I'd like to think that's because they're hunkering down and focused on actually trying to get stuff done. Well, earlier today, both Patel and Bongino appeared with Maria Bartiromo, and they dropped some nightmare news for the Democrats, and they also discussed a topic that has a lot of hardcore MAGA conservatives wondering, hey, can we even still trust Patel and Bongino? But before I get into that, let's take a look at what they revealed about January 6th.
Actually happened on January 6th.
So there is, as it seems that I find myself in a similar situation as Russiagate. Because on January 6th, in the prior Trump administration, I was the chief of staff to the Department of Defense. And I spent 4 years in a minor fortune litigating the truth because people politicized what actually happened on January 6th. And we now know unequivocally that President Trump lawfully authorized the deployment of National Guard, and me as the head of the Office of Secretary of Defense, with the Secretary of Defense, took that action. When it finally came in, because it had to have the governor and mayor of D.C.'s approval on it. That's the way the law works. And once it finally came in on January 6th, remember, we offered to them days beforehand, and they rejected it. We've put out the letters, and your show has done great coverage showing how it was rejected. We mobilized the fastest cold start in Washington, D.C. since World War II, and the largest occupation of D.C. by the National Guard since the American Revolution. That's what happened on January 6th, but what you and your viewers want to know, now that we've beat back that disinformation campaign with actual truth, is what was the FBI doing? Well, we got answers coming. We just found a trove of information, and it's on its way to Capitol Hill right now. And they've asked, and they're getting them, and you're getting answers on January 6th. You're getting answers on what sourcing was utilized, what money was utilized, how many assets were utilized, who made those decisions. You're getting it. We can only control the FBI, but you're getting it from the FBI.
Were there FBI agents undercover egging people on?
Like I said, that answer is coming, and it's on its way to Congress.
You're about to, I saw it. I saw the portfolio of information. We dug far and wide to find it, and I'm pretty sure now we have a conclusive, definitive answer, but you and the public are going to have it. You're going to see it in writing over to Capitol Hill. But I just want to be sure we're clear, having been an agent and a police officer. There is a difference between an agent, I know you know this, I don't mean to sound ridiculous, an agent, meaning a trained GS 1811 federal agent, and a source or an asset. There's a difference. So when you see the material, which I promise you is coming, again, I'm not asking you to trust us. I know it's coming because I saw it yesterday. When you see it, I just want you to understand that it's not an apology for anything.
Thank you.
But there's a difference between agents and assets.
Usually when we get promises that more information is coming or justice is coming, it's a situation of, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. In the past, we've gotten a lot of empty promises that have led to us getting burnt. But personally, I believe we're getting this new January 6th information and that we'll see it. And part of that is because of how adamant Dan Bongino was in distinguishing between assets and agents. I mean, he was so focused on that. And it's such a minor detail that I think it gives credence to. He really wants to protect his agents, his fellow brothers in arms, especially since he himself has a background as a Secret Service agent, as someone on the field. And so he wanted to get out in front of the report and say, hey, most of the agents, they're actually good guys. Your problem isn't with the agents and the good men and women trying to do their jobs. It's rather with these assets. And I think that's that distinction he was trying to make is really a good tell, I think, that there is actually information coming down the pipeline that will surprise us. Now, I've been clear on the channel about January 6th. I think that there were two major controversies, which both of them hit here. Number one was the security failure. I think that had the National Guard been deployed and not stopped by Bowser and Pelosi, had Trump actually been able to help secure the Capitol, I don't think that January 6th would have happened. I think it was, number one, a security failure, and then number two, who were the assets on the ground that were ginning up the crowd? And I'm not one of the people who thinks that everyone that was there was an actor or a deep state, someone posing, creating a false flag event. However, I do think that assets could have been dispersed throughout the crowd. I'm a big believer in crowd psychology and mob psychology, and that our government definitely knows how to instigate those situations. They understand just the primal nature that we still have in our DNA. And if that's true, that would certainly explain why Dan Bongino was so adamant in distinguishing between agents and assets. Now, you also heard Kash Patel mention Russiagate, and what I love about that is it's been about 10 years since Russia first began, and that means that the Trump administration, the FBI, is refocusing on that controversy. No, they're not trying to persecute political enemies. Rather, they're trying to ensure that that sort of corruption doesn't happen again, because not only was it a threat to a political campaign, but it was also a national security threat that hurt our diplomatic relationships. Here's what they said.
I was the lead Russiagate investigator for the House Intelligence Committee, and I've been on both your shows in a prior life talking about it. And I'm telling you and the American public that we have now found material and information and people who wanted to hide it from the world since we got in these seats. And we, as the deputy said, we are trying to do it in a fashion where not only are we informing the American public of what happened, but we can have accountability for it. And that takes a little bit more time. And when you layer on the fact that we are rolling out our priorities on violent crime and defending the homeland, you know, we're running a three-part animal here, and we're going 100 miles an hour on each single one.
So important.
Wait, I want to add to that, too, because what the director's saying is right. You got to remember, we come in the morning, there's a portfolio of 100 level 10 items. If it's a level 9, which is a pretty big freaking deal, someone else fixed it. The only thing that gets to my desk or his is a level 10. That's the entire day. Look at his schedule any given day. I'll show you the palm card I have. It is filled from 7:30 to he leaves 7 at night, 6:30 at night. It's filled all day. We just can't focus on one thing. You want New York to go boom? DC to go boom? You want an OC organization to go hack into some cyber network and crack all of Fox News' holdings? We're dealing with all that stuff too. Everything's a priority. Everything's a priority. This is one of many things we're doing. It's not an excuse. It's just reality.
And I like that he's explaining some of those behind-the-scenes mechanisms so that we understand what's going on, right? And like I said earlier in the video, it's not like they're someone like Pam Bondi who goes on TV seemingly every single day. I think part of the reason they've avoided the media is because they're actually hunkering down and getting stuff done. Now, another part that stood out to me was when they revealed that only level 10 stuff makes it to their desk. And that really underscores the need for them to have teams that they can trust. And it reminds me of when Elon Musk appeared on Joe Rogan. I would share that clip, but I don't want to get a copyright strike. But what Elon said essentially was, is that the head of the FBI and the DOJ, part of the challenge is like being the captain of a ship where the crew is hostile with you, right? Like being the captain, sure, you have the authority, but there are mutinies. They can obstruct, they can slow walk, they can drag their feet. I mean, there are so many challenges. So I think part of this still transition process for both Bongino and Patel is making sure that they have teams they can trust to make sure that those pertinent level 10 files actually make it to their desk, that there are no cover-ups going on beneath them. Well, speaking of cover-ups, perhaps the most contentious moment of the interview, or the one that stirred the pot the most online, is when they discussed Jeffrey Epstein.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
Now, a lot stands out to me during that clip. I want to be very upfront and say that personally, I'm not telling you what to believe, but personally, I do trust Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. But something still feels off about that entire clip. And I think I have an explanation for why. So I'm not a body language expert, but I did consult both ChatGPT, Grok, as well as a few other AI sources and just web resources. And according to them, gazing down left often signals you're retreating into an inner conversation or grappling with uncomfortable feelings. Usually it's self-talk, you're replaying a mental script, or you feel something like regret, shame, or guilt, or you're self-soothing. According to Grok, looking down into the left can suggest someone is feeling reflective, sad, or possibly deceptive, depending on context. And then the last sentence there, context, like other body language cues or the situation, matters more than the gestures alone. So the first time I watched this clip, what really stood out to me was Dan Bongino's eyes when Kash Patel was speaking. His body language was saying a lot because he seemed really intent. And if you notice, he was actually looking down into the left, because when Dan Bongino starts speaking and he looks up towards Maria Bartiromo, that gives you a reference for where he's actually looking. I don't think he's being deceptive. I think he's being careful with his words, because I'm going to play the clip again. Follow the eyes. You'll notice it's doing exactly what I said, down into the left, his left, and then pay attention to what he says at the very end.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know,
really zoned out look from Dan Bongino right there. You would think, and actually if you watch some of the other clips, that even the clips I've played in this video, whenever Kash Patel is speaking, Dan Bongino, speaking of context, is either looking Kash Patel, like looking at Kash Patel as he's speaking, or he's looking at Maria Bartiromo to see how she's taking it all in. So to me, it's really interesting that he's looking at neither of them. He's zoned out looking at this lower left, just obviously in his head about something.
Decide when you see one, and that's what that was.
And then right there, you saw his eyes come up to Maria.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
I've seen the whole file. There are two things that stand out to me about that, but obviously I should be very clear and say that I personally don't believe that Jeffrey Epstein unalived himself. I think that someone else was involved, and you know, just the coincidence of the security camera going off at just the right time, right? It just doesn't make sense. Now, is it possible that they're telling the truth and it is exactly what it appears on the surface? Sure, that's obviously a possibility, but I've seen the file. What really stands out to me about that is he's going directly to what the official narrative is. He never said, I believe he killed himself, or I believe the facts. He's just saying that this is what's in the original file. And hey, that is technically true. Like, if the government was involved in a cover-up, the autopsy is not going to be like, oh, government did it, right? Even the autopsy would be compromised. The file, by definition, would not have any evidence of the cover-up. The cover-up would be outside of that. So I thought it was really interesting that he went straight to, I've seen the file, and they sort of put the kibosh on that. What I really hope in my heart of hearts is that, you know, similar to how we have covert operations, maybe there's like a covert investigation, right? Publicly, they're going along with the official narrative, but behind the scenes, they're trying to figure out, hey, are there breadcrumbs or trails or whistleblowers we can find to shed light on what actually happened? And going back to the Elon Musk analogy of being the captain of a ship where you have a hostile crew, it makes sense that they wouldn't, you know, put everything out there publicly. And number two, I am almost 100% sure that something was edited out from their answer, because the last words Dan Bongino said were, I've seen the file, he killed himself. And then Maria Bartiromo's immediate response was, I know it's hard work. That just seemed like a strange response to what he just said. And I know this sounds a little woo-woo, but the energy flow of the conversation just didn't feel natural. It didn't feel right. Just speaking as an actor who has a lot of experience being on set, seeing the multiple takes being filmed, and then seeing the final product, it just, the energy flow, something was tampered with, I believe. In today's video, I would like to recognize Shine On 83 as the member of the Governor's Club. These are people who have given super thanks and tips to the channel. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you enjoyed the video, and in your comment you referenced wanting to see more of the kitties, so I have a special surprise for you at the end of this video. One of the other topics they talked about was the case against Letitia James and mortgage fraud, and I believe something is coming right around the corner.
Well, the other issue that's been talked about recently is this mortgage fraud and the FBI opening a formal case against Letitia James.
So again, ongoing cases, and we take our ongoing investigations very seriously because we don't want to do what our predecessors did, which is talk about them ad infinitum in the public and then nothing happens. This case, I can tell you, is being handled by our professional pros who are subject matter experts reporting directly to headquarters, which reports to Dan and I. This case, along with others, because it is a case of great public importance. And unlike other leaders who previously sat in these seats, we don't prejudge any case. We don't care what party elected you to what. It doesn't matter to us. It's irrelevant. If you broke the law, we are going to find out and we are going to investigate you. And then we are going to discuss that matter with the Department of Justice. And this is one of the things that, if your viewers take away nothing else from this interview, the FBI does not make prosecutorial decisions. You asked in the beginning how the FBI was weaponized. Well, the FBI hijacked the constitutional responsibility of the Department of Justice and the Attorney General, and James Comey and others specifically decided what cases to prosecute and not prosecute. Don't believe me? Go to the videotape in the Hillary Clinton investigation. We don't decide prosecutions, and neither does any agent or intel analyst. We have great partners under General Bondi. We work with them and discuss the matter with them, but the prosecutorial decision is with them.
Yeah, I mean, I know people want more justice happening more quickly, but think about the Letitia James prosecution. We had no idea that those charges were coming, that the investigation was coming until it was announced, right? And so it makes me wonder how many other projects are in the works behind the scenes that we're not going to know about until we know about it. But as always, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I'd love to hear from you. So what do you think about Patel and Bongino's response to the question about Jeffrey Epstein? Do you believe what they said just on a surface level? Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm crazy in my theory about it? Or do you think there's some sort of alternative explanation? I know we all have our own theories about whether or not Jeffrey Epstein unalived himself. It just, something still does not sit right with me about that. I did promise Shine On 83 more pictures and photos of the cat. So this is Drogon napping with the new kitty. Yes, we are doing the kitty game, guessing game soon. I just have to figure out 5 clues that aren't going to totally give away his name. And then here's an image of all of them awake at the same time and kind of playing together. Matrim is a super good big brother. He will cuddle with the new kitty, and they've already started like grooming, like licking each other. Drogon loves napping with both of them. Drogon still plays with Matrim all the time. The new kitty is kind of scared of Drogon's size, but he's getting more used to it. You can see an Amazon box I left there for him to play with. Yep. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed. They had a great weekend, all 3 of them. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. There go the fireworks. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.